Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We are at one of our favorite sites outside of Durango, Colorado, guiding a vision quest. And a vision quest is a wilderness rite of passage, time to go out on the land, to fast, to let go of, our modern comforts, whether that's shelter or food, relationships, and go out onto the land and just be with ourselves, to be with the environment. And we both actually met at a vision quest. And it's been pivotal to our work at Seeds, foundational, actually, where we got the insights about this Seeds work, and has guided us to now become guides ourselves on the vision quest. So this is the third day. We're heading into the third night. The questers will be returning tomorrow morning. So this is a beautiful, sacred, special moment.
Yes, so special. It brings back so many memories to reflect on what this third night of the quest, of this 3-day quest, may be bringing up for each of them. And it's also in such a long line of human tradition. One thing that really just draws us to this work is that humans across time and culture have been engaging in wilderness rites of passage in intact community settings for as long as we have any recorded evidence in our oral tradition. It's a part of how humans have supported individual and cultural development. Knowing that in order to really know oneself, one must be deeply in a soulful, solitary communion with the more than human world, with the earth that has birthed us. And for a human to come into deeper knowing of themselves through the signs and symbols and mirroring of nature and the natural world, they can better serve their communities, they can better fill their niche, they can better show up in the world in a way that truly matters. And so we really feel like revitalizing these practices that have been so ancient in a modern way for modern humans. We're actually doing this one as a community-based quest. In communities preferably, but really just for people who are seeking and yearning and praying to be able to know themselves more deeply and therefore be able to contribute both to their families and communities and also to the world in these pivotal human times when we're looking for a pathway through to a life-sustaining world.
Yeah, exactly. And the vision quest is so simple. And I think oftentimes there can be a lot of pressure approaching it as if something needs to happen. But really how we see this ceremony is a time to just recenter our nervous systems. And when we do that, when we step away from all the distractions, from the hyper stimulus of our current modern culture that's preying on our addictive tendencies at every single moment, when we step away from all that just for a short period of time, a whole new way of being and relating and seeing the world emerges, right? The dust settles, the hyperactivity settles. We have to be with ourselves in the rhythmic, slow pace of the earth, of wild places. And it's a remembrance, right? And that's the vision. Right? That's the essence of the vision, is a remembrance of who we truly are. By clearing the fog, clearing the clutter, and realigning with our deepest selves in relationship with the more than human. And from that place, that somatic recentering, we walk back into the world and we seek to stay in alignment with that because it feels good. It feels amazing to remember ourselves. And sure, the journey out there is difficult, right? Each one of these questers is going to have a full spectrum experience from just the beauty of seeing and being a part of this living experience and the encounters that they'll have and the stories that they'll tell, but also the challenging moments of being with oneself, alone in nature for an extended period of time. Things bubble up to the surface, right? So this is a challenging journey, but what we take away is deeply and profoundly life-changing, right? And it's something that we become in service to. We become in
Yes.
service to wanting to tend our lives in a way that can honor that experience that we had, that recentering, that regrounding, that coming home.
Yes, exactly. And the way that we're trained in doing this work and the way that we practice this is more even than just that 3 day solo. There's deep preparatory work that we're doing to support those in going out, becoming really clear about what they're marking, what they're claiming, what their intentions are. And so when they have that time on this 3 day solo to do that deep regulation work, nervous system homecoming
Yeah.
work, deep communion work, being with the self, encountering the true depths of the psyche, there's a container and there's a holding and
Yes.
there's preparation of why they're out there that they've become very clear about, and they've been witnessed in a community setting, being able to make those claims, be able to distill their desire to do this and heed this call in a way that has clarified over those preparatory days of a few days of prior work. And then too, to hold that in a good way when they come back tomorrow, we'll embark on the incorporation, the integration phase of this journey, which is also a 2 to 3 day ceremonial process of being able to welcome them home, welcome them back. As few people in our world are truly welcomed either into life or welcomed into a homecoming, into a celebratory embrace, to actually come back to their kin, to come back to relationship, to welcome as renewed and rebirthed and reformed human beings. We get to welcome them tomorrow as they cross that threshold back, and we get to support them in these growing circles of support and love. We get to hear their stories from the land. We get to witness them. We get to mirror that. We get to help support them, and having those stories live in them, be known in them, be reflected back to them, be heard, be received in a way that can help make that real, so that this service that they are, this service that they are being in service to, and that they are just through their beingness, can have a little bit more somatic landing, incorporation, bringing it into the corporal, being able to help it land in the body. And so all of these ways of holding this process is how we try to go about this in as best a way as we can, knowing that this is potent medicine, and how we can do this for the modern human in a way that has been tested and has been designed and is thoughtful and is also integratable, is metabolizable, is something that can be digested and brought with us, because it's a big task to live in a way that is soul infused, that is soul rooted in this world. And so to be able to structure and scaffold that as thoughtfully as possible is a blessing.
Totally. Which is one of the reasons why we're doing it in community, right? And so this is here in Durango, where we live, where we're building and growing community and offering this quest, calling it a community quest, right? Knowing that our stories that we receive from the land are healing, essentially, which is our story, which is our vision, which is our gift, right? Our core wounds, as they heal, as we come to know them, become the gifts that we bring back to life. They're not just for us, right? They're for the evolution of our culture. They're for the maturation of our communities, right? They're for the healing of others, to invite us all in to deeper depths of belonging and remembrance, right? And so to tell our stories, not just with some strangers we met, even though that's powerful, for a few days and then we go our separate ways, but to tell our stories back to our communities of our healing journey, of who we are now, what we're claiming, how we're moving forward, and how the earth showed us all that, how the earth mirrored to us, how the earth whispered to us, how the earth invited us home, and how the earth is fundamental to who we are, that we are the earth, we are emergent out of this more than human context, informed by it, in service to it. And so to come back to a society that disregards the more than human and the earth, that doesn't see it as primary, that doesn't see it as what we are in service to, after an experience like this can be deeply challenging. But to be growing community that is in service to that, that's creating spaces to actualize these gifts that are uncovered on these quests, is what's needed moving forward. And so we're striving to do that at Seeds, is to create these ecocentric hubs of cultural regeneration that facilitate these nature-based rites of passage that can send people out on the land to get vision, to get healing, and bring that vision back into these communities and have a place to actualize that, to have a place to practice that, to have a community willing to and wanting to, needing to receive them and hear their stories when they return. Right? And have their stories fundamentally evolve our culture and our communities. This is our vision. This is what is driving us forward. This is why we're doing this work, not so that we can find some sense of individual vision and, like, you know, live a purposeful life, even though that's beautiful, but to do that in relationship to culture and community and in service to the more than human, for the evolution of life and consciousness over time, and for the healing of this current collective moment. Right? And that's what each of our gifts are in service to. This moment, the context of the now, and what's needed collectively.
Right. Exactly. This vision that pulls us forward at Seeds is a very holistic one, striving to really work at these intersections, these mutually beneficial, mutually reinforcing intersections of personal, soul-rooted development, of cultural, holistic cultural regeneration, and then the reanimation of the more than human world, which can also be thought of in some ways as ecological stewardship. And so these three primary domains of the human experience are deeply compelling to us. And we've really seen and understand in our own lives that if you just focus on one or even two of those domains of experience and ignore the other two or one of that, it is not a holistic, complete, full picture of what leads to both a meaningful life on the individual level, but also helps support the cultural and the ecological, the earth-based, the planetary thriving and sustainability over time. And so we're really curious about what types of practices help weave together all three. And the Vision Quest ceremony is one of many that we see as a keystone practice of our work, because it is supporting that individual soul-rooted development, helping people come into deeper purpose and understanding and self-knowing and self-encountering. And it is also serving a growing, as you've talked about, of these place-based cultural regenerations. These stories are shared back with the community. As individuals come back with vision, they can show up and contribute to the farm projects, to the community meetings, to the processes of relationship building in better and clearer and more mature ways of being. And they're also in service to falling in love with life again, the earth again, nature again, the creatures again, which is part of this reanimation of the more than human world. When we understand through these deep ceremonial encounters that the earth is our greatest teacher and has birthed us and is the source of all things, how can we not be in service and support to ways of being and strategies of repair and regeneration to support her lifeways, to support her thriving, to support her abundance? So we see the Vision Quest as really hitting on these three and supporting the mutual benefits of what we call these three pillars of ecocentric evolution.
Exactly. Yeah, and truly what the Vision Quest has shown and shows over and over again is that our deepest desires are possible. To live in harmony and beauty and connection is our birthright. It's what grew us into being, these magical, wild creatures that is the human, has grown out of an evolutionary process of relationship and harmony and connection and love and support and belonging. That's what's grown us into being, right? And it is possible to live that way, to design our cultures that way, to have a sense of purpose and meaning that connects us fundamentally to life, to live a significant life, to live that with others, and to have all of that support the thriving of the more than human. And this is what the Vision Quest offers us, these gifts, these visions of possibility, for who we are.
Yes.
Right? The earth itself dreaming possibilities through us as the earth, as agents of creation, right? Agents of regeneration, agents of healing,
Yes.
right? And so this is the invitation of our times, because the earth is we are destroying the earth through our ignorance, through our losing of ourselves, through our loss of identity. Right? Through not understanding ourselves as woven into these three pillars, but to seeing ourselves separated out of, and therefore destroying the very foundations that support our being, creating tremendous amounts of suffering.
Yes.
And so a transition is needed, a rite of passage collectively.
Yes.
And the rite of passage is to return to the source, to feel again, to recenter, right? And from that place, allow ourselves to be informed, to be guided, to receive vision of possibilities, and then to create communities when we return from that vision together to support the sprouting of these seeds of possibilities for the future, to practice, to play our way towards regeneration. Right?
Yes. So we're out here practicing and playing and learning and growing, and we're grateful for the chance to live in this way, for the freedoms and the privileges that allow us to offer what has become clear to us as nourishing for us, and also what we see as needed in our collective times. And we're truly learning as we go, and we're striving to listen as deeply as we can. And it's a gift and it's an honor to be able to learn and grow in such majesty with this place and with one another.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Many blessings.